Sunnydale Academy has always been about missions. In 2008, Sunnydale took a big step forward. They decided to incorporate the idea of a school of evangelism on this campus. This idea has changed over the years, but the net effect is that our young people are learning how to witness and share their faith with the people around them. From Africa to India, Nepal, even here locally in the U.S., our students are getting hands-on practical experience sharing the love of Jesus with the people around them.
I've been asked to share a little bit about the history of the School of Evangelism at Sunnydale Academy, one of my favorite topics. The beginnings was almost a little over 10 years ago. What caused us to even have the discussion was we had 86 students on campus, and we were having meetings about the viability of Sunnydale continuing on and talking about maybe we would have to close the school for lack of students and lack of funding. We tried to figure out many things, but we decided to take 3 days to have prayer. And so the officers of the conference, the officers of the school, and some others who were invited in were asked to just come together, and for 3 days we began to pray and ask God what He would have us to do. The outcome of that meeting was the idea of a school of evangelism. More than just a school that would go on a mission trip, a school that would actually prepare young people for church offices of what it would be to be an elder or a church ministries leader, a deacon. A school that would help a young person to be able to have a chance to experience Bible work, to be able to preach. A school where young people could have a chance to develop their own spiritual life and in their own hobbies learn to be a witness. Out of that became the Sunnydale School of Evangelism. The results of that have been today we have 145 students, which is our maximum. We believe that God is blessed. It is very clear that the day for a boarding academy is not past. It's fully here. Young people want to come. The School of Evangelism took place in helping churches close to the academy. Young people were able to help with disaster relief in Katrina and the tornadoes around the area. They would be able to go in all the way to community service in their own community. Probably what is most seen is our young people begin to get to go overseas for almost 3 weeks a year to do a public evangelistic series where they would do the preaching themselves. We started in India. We went to the Sundarban Islands, where there's about 3 or 4 million people live on those islands, 22 islands in the Bay of Calcutta. Very little Christian presence, and Bob Robinson, who was the development director in India, asked us if we would like to come to India, and we said yes, but send us to an area where no one else is going. The Sundarban Islands was selected, and we went. First year, preaching from 17-year-olds, 900 baptisms. We went back the next year, and the next year. The last report I've heard after going to the Sundarban Islands for 8 years is about 12,000 Seventh-day Adventists are on those islands with numerous churches, and they also have a school with about 200 children on one of the islands that are being trained, and mostly they're Hindu students, but they have Christian Seventh-day Adventist teachers. All done by the preaching of teenagers. It demonstrates what education and mission of the church combined together can do. I could tell a couple stories of young people who preached a series of meetings, then came home and they themselves were baptized. Young people who say that they understand the ministry of the church more than they've ever understood it before. I have a story of a young lady who, when it came time to preach Daniel chapter 7, I got a call from the supervisor saying she doesn't think she can preach that topic. And I sent back a message and said, well, she agreed to preach, so have her preach. The word came back, well, she doesn't think she can preach it because she doesn't understand it. And my response was, well, she doesn't have to understand it. The translator understands it. Just preach it. Then it came back, well, I don't even know if I believe it, the change of the Sabbath and the importance of that. Our response back to that was, you don't have to believe it. Just read the notes. The translator believes it. That's enough. When the young lady got to the site, it was her largest group yet. More than 200 people had shown up. The thought came to her mind, you have asked everybody about this topic. Why don't you ask me? From this point on in the story, this is her report now. She said, I bowed my head and said, Lord, if there is anything to this topic, help me to understand it. She said immediately, just like that, her mind opened up. She understood Daniel 7 from beginning to end. She preached it with power. People accepted it. But the best news is she told us, for the first time in my life, I understand why I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. I will always be a Seventh-day Adventist. My goal for School of Evangelism is every school in North American Division would become a School of Evangelism. Thank you.